So all this talking about retirement, because I'm going down to the South soon to celebrate a retirement party for a dear family member. And it's got me thinking, God, I think I woke up in the middle of the night last night thinking, oh God, do I have enough money really to retire? And I started doing the math because it's not cheap to live here in New York. And if you look at some of the retirement places here in New York, the skilled living facilities, there's one next door to me. They charge somewhere between $7,000 and $12,000 a month for these facilities, and that's for the little studio. But I think it comes with some optional skilled nursing. But frankly, it does make you want to do the math, adding up what's coming in, subtracting what goes out, trying to understand, will that last with the way that the economy is and how we're having inflation, or will this get me through, or will I outlive it? The unexpected happen and I need more for care than I planned, or something happens medically. And these are all the things that are hard to understand. And even though I study health psychology and I know what chronic stress does to me, I don't know why this whole retirement issue is giving me such a stress. But I know the research and the financial anxiety and the physical health outcomes, it's not great. I know that I need to let this go. But still, sometimes at 2 and 3 in the morning, the math just shows up. I don't know about you. So the math just keeps showing up. And how can I balance my money, or how do I need to think about money or the cost of living? And I don't know. And maybe I can't retire because I'll probably always need to be making money. It just sounds like a tightrope. I hope you hear this and know that you're not alone. And that if you're thinking about these things, about financial stress and aging or all of it, living on a fixed income and the fear of outliving your money, and that there's a transition that has to happen for retirement. Or like myself, I'm a widow, and the idea of what do I have to do to downsize my lifestyle and living here in New York, and what does that mean? So I'd like to talk about reframing things. And this is a wonderful coping mechanism that we've learned in chronic stress. I'm doing this for myself and for you, I hope, because financial fear, and the research is clear, it's just not about the dollars. It's about what we're telling ourselves. That's really what it is. Maybe we need to tell that story differently. I'm going to see if that's possible, because we have that in our power and we're more powerful than we think. So I'm MC, I'm a health psychologist, and I come here each week to talk about health and well being and being the best version of who we are well into our 80s and 90s. Please subscribe and join my channel and click that like button and share, because I really want to share and motivate and connect to people who are in that realm of being an older adult like me. And we're navigating this world in a way that feels a little uncertain. Should we retire? Do we have enough money? What do we have to do about the economy and stress? And we're going to live on a fixed income. And what does that all mean? Are we going to make our lives feel wonderful? So, as I was saying, let's talk about what's real, because I think many of us older adults, we walk around with the financial stress of what is happening, and maybe we feel a little bit of a failure. Maybe we need to start saving so we have that 2 million in our 401k, and we just didn't figure it out soon enough. But the data really tells us something otherwise. There was a national poll done by the University of Michigan that asked older adults 50 and up about their financial well-being. And here's what they found: that more than half, 53%, felt stress about their personal finances in the past year. And more than half had to cut back on at least one everyday expense, whether that was groceries or their social activities or home maintenance or utilities. One in three said they were genuinely concerned that their money won't last as long as they need it to. And here's the finding that surprised even the researchers. The age group most likely to feel financial stress wasn't the older adults on fixed Social Security income. It was adults who haven't made the decision to retire yet, or they're 50 to 64 and they're trying to figure out retirement, and they're watching their savings and they're uncertain about what comes next. So that tells us something, right? Financial stress in aging isn't just about how much you have. It's profoundly about this feeling of the unknown. It's about the unknown and that the future can't be seen or controlled. And truthfully, guess what? That's not going to change. And as a health psychologist, that's what we know about the future. We don't know it. And our relation to it is something we can make choices about. So, first, let me be honest about what this financial stress actually does to our bodies, because this is not just an emotional problem, it's a physical one. Long term financial stress across our life course has been linked to negative health outcomes, especially in later life. Financial hardship, including difficulty paying our bills or having to hold back on medications because of cost or food insecurity, all of these associated with worse self-rated health among older adults, even after accounting for income and education. So it didn't matter what your income or what your education was. All of these things about the stress of money worry is just not in your head. It lives in our bodies. It affects our sleep. It affects our immune system. It affects our heart. It affects our cognitive functioning, which means managing our financial stress is something that I must do. It's not just about the I might do it. No, I need to do it. I must do it. I need to figure out ways. And I'm hoping that you're curious too of exercises for people who need to deal with the anxiety of financial stress, because it needs to really intervene, because it will continue to damage our health. So financial stress in older adult tends to show up in three distinct ways, and I want to name all three because they feel very different to me, and they require slightly different responses. So the first is a fixed income and rising cost. This is the most concrete and visible form that we all relate to, that your income is relatively stable, your Social Security or your pension, your retirement funds, the savings, the distributions that you have, all of these. But the thing that you don't know is the cost of everything around you. That keeps changing. The groceries, your health care, your housing, your utilities, and that math that used to work doesn't work anymore. It kind of stopped. And that's what really is so painful about this situation, is that it creates this kind of creeping sense of lack, which is not true. We're not getting smaller, and it's not about lack. It's not about cutting back on this or skipping that or saying no to this or things that you used to say yes to. It's about saying something directly to anyone in this situation. Cutting back does not make you a failure, and it doesn't make you less than. It makes you a person who's navigating a difficult structural reality that we're all going through. And there is more help available than most people are willing to reach out for. The second issue is longevity anxiety and the fear of outliving our money. And this is what wakes me up at 2 a.m. with I'm trying to do the math. But this, I think, is incredibly common. 1 in 3 adults over 50 have this fear. And here's what make longevity anxiety particularly cruel by any definition is that it hasn't happened yet. We're suffering right now for something that may or may not happen. Our brain, though, treats this as if it is happening, as we have a threat that we're dealing with in this right now moment. And your body activates all the stress components just as if it were happening right now. And the research on death anxiety and financial decisions makes in aging found something striking. Older adults with higher anxiety about the future showed a greater preference for immediate, small rewards over future oriented planning. In other words, that very fear of running out of money, it actually can impair our ability to make sound financial choices. Fear is not a financial strategy, and yet it's often the only tool we reach for. I think the third thing is our life transitioning in retirement, transitioning widowhood, suddenly have to downsize because we can't either maintain our home or it's too big. We can't keep it up either financially with maintenance or keeping it clean every week. And that becomes a reality. So those are things that often carry a financial weight. And they also come with, I think, identity challenges. Retirement isn't just about a change in income. It's a change in how you spend your day and what you feel like doing. And sometimes if you become a widow like I did, it means that you're having to be navigating all the financial responsibilities, which maybe you didn't do before. And sometimes in the middle of some deep grief, all of a sudden you're having to downsize and let go of a home that you've held a long history. Financial stress in these moments is real, and it's layered with emotional reality that makes everything harder to navigate clearly. Here's the through line, though, across all three of these things. Research consistently shows that what matters most for financial well-being in us, older adults, is not just the numbers. It's your sense of feeling a control over those numbers, the sense of feeling this personal control positively associated with your well-being. And it's that financial stable resources, positive perceptions of your financial future. It's just not the money itself, but it's our relationship to it. This is what makes better mental health outcomes. Economic security fosters a sense of control and reduces stress. So this means we need a mindset shift. I want to offer you a reframe, not a denial, not a toxic positivity, Lou, everything's okay, or think abundance. No, there's a wonderful psychological shift that the research supports and that I have found myself reaching for in this time of anxiety at 2 a.m. Reframe your financial stress is almost always a story about our future and how we will live then, instead of focusing on our present. So let me explain. When we lie awake during the night doing the math and we're catastrophizing about how we're going to run out of money, we're going to not have what we want for our daily expenses, and we get sick. It becomes something that we can't sleep anymore, and we're suddenly time traveling to a future that's not even happened. And we're treating it as if it's happening right now. And our brain, like I said, doesn't know the difference. So our cortisol rises, our sleep becomes disturbed, and we fret. We can't make decisions, or it makes our next day terrible. So one therapist said, financial problems are often emotional. And the most powerful thing we can do to stop treating money as something that happens to us and we start treating it as something you can engage with. That's not a small shift. Many of us, especially those of us who grew up with complicated feelings about money, and I know I did. I went bankrupt in my late 20s or early 30s, and I had to deal with all the financial medical problems that my husband had with multiple sclerosis. So let me tell you something. Finances are not simple, but I know there are three ways to make them better is to reframe them from I'm afraid of what I don't know to I can learn what I need to know. Financial literacy is one of the most consistent protective factors for our financial well-being in our older situations. Understanding our options helps us make better decisions. It reduces that fear of the unknown. And I want to be very careful here because financial literacy is sometimes used as a way to blame individuals for their problems. You should not have to become a financial expert to be okay in retirement. That's a structural problem. That's not a personal one. But within this sphere of what you do control, there is power in knowing what benefits you qualify for, knowing how to read a financial statement, knowing what questions to ask a financial advisor, knowing that many areas have financial counseling resources specifically for us to understand what our options are. Knowledge is not the same as control, though. It does something important. It moves you from this position of fear to active engagement. And that shift alone can change your experience of financial stress. Longevity anxiety often operates in this kind of unusually vague, abstract place. It feels like a big, scary number, big, scary unknown. And in that abstraction, the fear just gets bigger and bigger, like a monster. But to shrink that fear, we can get specific. What do you actually have? Not as a judgment, but just as information. What is your income resources? What are your actual monthly expenses? Where is there some give and take? And maybe there's certain things that you really don't use anymore that you can let go of. That's really the power. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau measures financial well-being in older adults through 4 ways: control over day-to-day finances, the capacity to absorb a financial shock, the ability to meet financial goals, and financial freedom to make choices. Now, that's a useful way of thinking about our finances because it moves you from this overwhelming kind of questioning, do I have enough to last until I die? Or what if something happens? We have to be specific, manageable questions that you can actually find answers to. And that's what's going to help us in the long run. You don't have to figure this out alone. You are allowed to ask for help. And we know that sometimes our generation doesn't want to do that, but guess what? We can. And it really is something that we need to do more of. We're not a burden to others. We're not telling people that we're scared or uncertain. We're really looking for just information. And while Stoicism serves many people in many ways, can become a real obstacle when navigating financial complexities. You have to speak up. You have to say what you're wanting to know. And it's key. And here's what I want you to hear. Asking for help about your finances is not an admission of failure. It is an act of wisdom and self-care. And that may look like a conversation with a trusted family member or a free appointment with an approved counselor, a session with a nonprofit person, a consultation with a fee-only financial advisor who specializes in retirement, calling your area agency in aging, which can connect you with other resources you don't know. All of those are things that we can do for ourselves to start talking and learning. Now, I want to talk about something that doesn't often come up in financial conversations. What do you do with the stress that's in your body? Because even if you do all those right things, even if you learn more and clarify your picture and you feel more, you still have that tightness in your chest and you're still waking up at 2 and 3 in the morning. This looks like simple, practical steps that you can do right now, that you can remind yourself you're okay. Right now, you have what you need today, right? Right now, is there one small thing, one action, one question, one conversation that's actually within your reach? This is not avoidance to ask about right now. It's not denial. It's merely the practice of not suffering prematurely for a future that hasn't arrived yet. And it really works well with mindfulness and how it gives you space to let go of the fear, to allow you to think clearly, to find a foundation for making good financial decisions. The research shows that scarcity mindsets, the psychological experience of feeling financially constrained, reduces our cognitive bandwidth. The stress of worrying about your finances actually impairs your ability to think through solutions, which means managing those emotions that show up about financial stress is a good choice. It helps us do better for our finances. So taking care of your nervous system with a simple mindfulness act is also a financial act. So here I am at 2 in the morning, and what have I learned about thinking about my retirement math? I've learned that I need to slow down. I need to recognize nothing's perfect. I can notice that I'm doing it. I can also say, you know what? I need to let go of this because I need to ask myself, is this solving anything right now? No. And if I'm honest, I need to remind myself more often. And in the daylight, when I'm feeling more clear, I'll do things that will help me. I will look at my numbers. I will check my accounts. I will reach out for support. I will stay engaged in my finances. And I'll do it without judgment. I don't have to pretend that the fear isn't there, but I don't have to allow it to explode. And I think that's the key, is that I don't have to be just a passive recipient of someone who's fretting at 2 and 3 in the morning. I don't have to be someone that allows my uncertainty about future to control my presence. So I'm Dr. Mary Catherine George. I'm a health psychologist, and this is my channel, Healthy by George. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it, click the like button, join me here and subscribe, because all of us, whether you're getting ready to retire or not, are going to be dealing with financial stress. And I know that the more that we can rely on science and recognizing that using mindfulness practices is a power. And I would love for you to subscribe to my newsletter called Glow Up, where I give you small little tidbits every week. So my friend, recognize this is our one precious life. I want us to all live it well into our 80s and 90s. So be well, stay curious, stay grounded, and remember, fear is not a financial plan. See you next week. So thank you so much for joining me at Healthy by George. I hope you found the information inspiring and that it encourages you on your wellness journey. Because remember, your body, your well-being are a most precious gift, and every tiny action taken daily can make a huge difference. I hope the information here is educational purposes and is not meant to replace your medical care. See your doctor and talk about what works for you. If you enjoyed today's content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continuing creating content that inspires and empowers you to live your best life. Goodbye for now, and join me again at the next Healthy by George.